Looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill right now. We got to let the stream breathe just for a second here. Make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Also, just give a second here for some people to start streaming on in here. Welcome in, Broncos country, to the Denver Broncos Syndicate pregame show for Denver Broncos versus Pittsburgh Steelers, Week 2 of the 2024 NFL season. What was supposed to be Russell Wilson's return to Denver, and technically it still is. Russell Wilson is here in the stadium, but he is designated as the emergency third-string quarterback for the Steelers, so the only way that he can get into the game is if Justin Fields and backup Kyle Allen both get injured, not benched, injured. So we're not going to see Russell Wilson today. Who we are going to see for the Steelers is Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to be a big-time threat with his legs. The Broncos are really going to have to sell out to contain him. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And additionally, for the Broncos, of course, we are going to see Bo Nix. Bo Nix had a pretty rough rookie debut against the Seattle Seahawks. Had some rookie mistakes, so he's going to be looking to bounce back in this one. We've got Ray Ann in the house. Good to see you. We've got Brandon Barrett. We've got Dylan Earl. Is the game being televised? Yes, the game is being televised. It'll be televised on CBS, so check your local CBS listings or stream it online, however you do the game. But yeah, it will be televised. I believe it's going to be Sparrow Ditas and Adam Archuleta on the call. So yeah, guys, just jumping into what we're going to expect from this game. Obviously, Justin Fields is going to be a big-time threat with his legs. His arm has definitely been questionable at times. I thought he played pretty well in the game against the Atlanta Falcons, was able to take care of the ball, not put it in harm's way. Schematically, Arthur Smith did not have Justin Fields throw over the middle whatsoever. He claimed it was because of Jesse Bates patrolling the middle of the field at safety there in Atlanta. Obviously, with Justin Simmons no longer here, the Broncos don't really have that field general. Unless, of course, P.J. Locke or Brandon Jones really step up today to delete the middle of the field. I anticipate a lot of throws outside the numbers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Broncos are going to be able to capitalize on that. I think that they're going to play a lot of too-high coverage. I think that they're essentially going to dare the Steelers to run the football. They're also going to essentially play quarterback contain with their edge rushers and almost sacrifice their pass rush a little bit in order to keep Justin Fields in the pocket. So Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, I anticipate all those guys really playing contain. Bo Nix coming out party today. I sure hope so, man. That's obviously going to be the big thing that we're going to be watching for. Bo having that really rough debut in Week 1, made some bad decisions, but also was not helped at all by his wide receiver play or his offensive line play. I'm looking for all those to improve today. I'm hoping that Sean Payton maybe makes things a little bit easier for Bo Nix, calls some read options, calls some rollouts, some designed QB runs, maybe some QB power, stuff like that, just in order to make Bo Nix more comfortable out there and not have him feel like he has to do too much. Bo Nix threw the ball over 40 times in Week 1 against Seattle, which is obviously not what you want. I'm hoping that Bo Nix has at least 7, 8, 9 rushing attempts in this game. The Broncos are going to have to stay in a dogfight with the Pittsburgh Steelers if they're going to win. I obviously feel like the Steelers have one of the top defenses in the NFL. I feel like they run the football, they play good special teams. It's exactly the formula to win dogfights in the NFL. Obviously, the Broncos struggled to run the football in their Week 1 game against Seattle. They struggled to really get anything going offensively. And then defensively, they were lights out in the first half. In the second half, they gave up some big runs and kind of started to get gassed out there. Hopefully, it's not a similar formula. Hopefully, the offense can help the defense out by getting some long, sustained drives and keeping them off the field and keeping those guys fresh for the second half. The second half is when the defense is really going to have to step up and really play their best football, in my opinion, in order to win this game. I'm also going to be paying a lot of attention to the receiving corps, especially now that I'm here in the stadium. I can see the plays develop from an all-22 perspective. I'm going to keep keep an eye on seeing if the receivers are getting open or not, because guys just were not getting open in that game against the Seattle Seahawks, which was really, really tough to get anything going offensively. Bo Nix had nowhere to go with the ball. He was flushed out. It caused him to panic a few times in the pocket. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for that. Our defense matches really well with the Steelers offense, says Brandon. I definitely would agree. As I almost dropped my phone, I definitely would agree. And I also feel like as far as this Broncos defense is concerned, again, they got gassed last week. The offense had 6 straight 3-and-outs, and the defense had to see the field way more than they wanted to in that second half. So one key is, again, just going to be keeping them fresh. Then it's just going to be all about keeping Justin Fields in the pocket and not letting him beat you with his legs. I'm comfortable and confident playing more split safety, middle of the field open coverage, because Justin Fields by nature is not going to attack the middle of the field. We got Kim in the house. Good to see you, Kim. Hopefully you are doing well. So overall, another thing I'm going to be watching in this game is how the offensive line matches up against the Steelers pass rush. The Steelers have 2 of the best edge rushers in the NFL in TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. I'm really worried about Mike McGlinchey in particular going against TJ Watt. TJ Watt completely wrecked the game against Atlanta last week. He ate their right tackle Caleb McGarry for lunch. Definitely concerns me having Mike McGlinchey go up against TJ Watt. Ooh, and Justin Jefferson's going to the locker room for the Vikings. They just showed that on the Jumbotron. That is definitely not good. On the other side, though, Garrett Bowles against Alex Highsmith. Highsmith is nobody to sneeze at. He's somebody who is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Would be a top dog in pretty much every other situation where he's not playing next to TJ Watt. So definitely keeping an eye on him. And then the interior as well. How's the Broncos' interior offensive line with Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, and Quinn Miners going to match up as the Steelers are taking the field right now? Few Steelers players taking the field, returners. Russell Wilson will be in uniform on the sidelines today, but again, not going to be active. He is the emergency third-string quarterback. Blake Watson inactive for the Broncos. Chris Abrams-Drain inactive for the Broncos. I almost thought we were going to see Watson in this game, but with Tyler Beatty being promoted from the practice squad, I can understand. Meanwhile, Broncos returners taking the field. Jaleel McLaughlin. I see Tremon Smith over there. Riley Moss, Marvin Mims, Tyler Beatty. What's going on, Maverick? Good to see you, bro. Yes, a lot of Steelers fans. You could see them when I got to the stadium. There was just a lot of Steelers fans outside. There's already quite a few in the stands right now, so definitely anticipating quite a few Steelers fans here for this game. We know that the terrible towel travels well. Last week in Atlanta, they forced the Falcons to use a silent count at home. I'm curious if they're going to maybe force these Denver Broncos to do the same thing. We got Amy Massey in the house. Good to see you. Amy says, let's get a win, Broncos. I know that the Broncos are going to come out. They're going to play with a lot more discipline, a lot more sound fundamental football in this game than what we saw last week. So that's why I feel confident about this team heading into this game. I think defensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers, yes, it's going to be a tough matchup with Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, their linebacking core. They've got a really elite secondary, but with the Steelers schematically, they don't disguise their coverage a whole lot. They don't run a lot of simulated pressures like the Seattle Seahawks did. They don't run exotic disguised looks. They kind of just run what they run, and that's a lot of single high man coverage. They will show blitz at the line of scrimmage and occasionally back off, but 9 times out of 10, when they show blitz and show that certain guys are going to rush, it will be those guys rushing. They don't do what Seattle did, where they showed that they were going to potentially rush a linebacker, back the linebacker off, and then drop 2 defensive linemen in coverage. That's something that really confused Bo Nix in this offense in week 1. We're going to see less of that in this game. I think Bo Nix is going to be able to be at the line of scrimmage and process the information that's given to him a lot quicker than he did up in Seattle week 1. So if he can do that, then I think this overall offensive operation is going to run a lot more smooth. Dylan, please stop spamming questions. We've already answered it, yes. The game will be on TV here in Denver on CBS. If you are outside the Denver area or outside the Broncos viewing area, then you might have to look for other options. Yes, Maverick, you said it perfectly. Steelers defense is better roster-wise, but tactically speaking, the Seahawks have a more complicated scheme and are an overall better defensive unit in that regard. So it's kind of pick your poison. Again, I think Bo Nix is going to be able to process things a lot better at the line of scrimmage. Hopefully, Sean Payton stays committed to the ground game in this one. I thought at times Sean Payton pivoted away from the run game when it was working. And at other times I thought he was running the football when he shouldn't run the football, especially that possession after the muff punt where the Broncos had good field position. That was an instance where I felt like 2 back-to-back runs after a penalty was not the right move. Hopefully they run the ball in the right situations and they're able to establish a consistent ground game. That's going to be key as well, is lengthening your time on the field, lengthening your time of possessions, being able to put together 6, 7, 8-minute drives. That's going to be key. You have to be able to win the time of possession battle in this game. If you can't win the time of possession battle, then the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get a run game going, and they're going to be able to win this game. So that's going to be a big time key. I see a few picks and a lot of sacks. We will shut the run down. So the Steelers, they do have some offensive line issues, especially on that right side. Broderick Jones at right tackle really struggled in the preseason. Keep an eye on Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, maybe even Jonah Ellis. But like I said earlier, I almost think that the Broncos edge rushers are going to have to sacrifice their pass rush a little bit in order to be able to contain Justin Fields on the ground. If the Broncos can hold Justin Fields to under 50 rushing yards and under 10 rushing attempts, then I would overall call that a win. You know that Arthur Smith is going to want to get things going with Justin Fields on the ground. That's when they can run their read option stuff with guys like Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Arthur Smith runs a lot of heavy personnel up front, a lot of 2 tight end sets, a lot of 12 personnel. So that's going to be a big thing for the Broncos, is winning that trench warfare against that heavier personnel. Steelers are going to be aggressive, be physical, and get in your face. The Broncos have got to be ready for that. No 3 and outs, please, and that just goes with what I said earlier. The long sustained drives, being able to control the clock, starts with the ground game, being able to maintain your run game. Those are all going to be keys. So yeah, no 3 and outs is definitely going to be a part of that. Got guys taking the field right now. There are the quarterbacks. Bo Nix, Wilson, Jarrett Stidham. Wilson is the emergency string quarterback today once again. So Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham are your number 1 and your number 2 quarterbacks. I agree, Maverick. The receivers have got to be able to get open in this game. We're going to be watching that very closely in this one. Since we're in the stadium, we can see the plays developing. We can watch the receivers' routes developing. I'm going to be keeping a big-time eye on that for sure. Welcome in, Brian. Good to see you. Good to see you. But overall, those are the main themes for this game. We're going to start wrapping up this stream, guys. I want to preserve as much battery life as I can here. But let me know before we dip out of here, guys, what do you think the final score prediction for this game is going to be? I'm going to maintain my same score that I had in my pregame preview, which is Denver Broncos 17, Pittsburgh Steelers 16. I think the Broncos will be able to stay on pace in this this dogfight with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they will ultimately be able to come away with a win on a walk-off field goal by Will Lutz. That's how I see this game playing out. We've got Brian saying Steelers 28-14. Obviously, Brian's a Steelers fan. We've got definitely a very tough matchup here. It's going to be a dogfight, like I said. The Broncos are going to have to be physical, tough, and we got A. Harks to the house. Sorry, I always butcher that name. 24-17 Broncos. So we definitely have some people here thinking the Broncos can get it done. I think the Broncos can get it done, but they're going to have to stay fundamentally disciplined. Holy Diver says 20-20, then overtime. Broncos 12-9, says Scott. Amy says Broncos 21-20. So definitely people are thinking that the Broncos can pull this out and are feeling a little bit more optimistic about the Broncos. Got a few more Steelers players taking the field right now. Steelers quarterbacks are not out yet. So Russell Wilson again is going to be in full uniform in this game as the designated emergency third-string quarterback. So if you guys are watching the TV copy, you guys will see a lot of Russell Wilson on that broadcast. All right, guys, before we dip out of here, if you could just do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid. Say peace out, and we'll see you after the game.